Welcome to this week's Down Home with Tina. I am your host, Tina Thompson, and I am once again out here on location at one of the Lancaster Parks and Recreation Parks. It is Miller Park, but as you can see, I have Miller Pool behind me. It is gorgeous. They've been open now for about a week and a half, so the kids can get the opportunity. Go through the Lancaster Public Transit for the kids. I know there are certain ages and things. Find out more about that, and maybe the kids can come on over and get to swim on days where weather is permitted. And you can always find out a lot of the different events, because I talked with Jen Shamlin a couple of weeks ago. She is the recreation supervisor of Lancaster Parks and Recreation, and they have different things happening. And coming up on the 19th is movie night. So just check out their Facebook page and you'll be able to keep up on what is happening with Lancaster Parks. So many great and different things, not just for the kids, folks, but it's also for adults as well. So many different events and new things that they've got coming up that it'll be interesting. As a spectator, I don't know if I could actually participate in some of the sports that they have, but as a spectator, I think it would be quite fun to see some of these adults getting back out there, maybe even on the soccer field. And coming up this week, I have got Jason Crabill. He is from the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. They are open and they are allowing folks to come in and get to see the newest exhibit, which is really exciting and fun to see what they've got going on. It's kind of something that they've done in the past, but of course different. It has to do with the Paramount fashion and costume. Really neat what you can see and what they've really done in Hollywood and different things like that. And then also I'm going to highlight my teacher of the month. She is a gal that I know from back in high school, but I'm not the one that went and found her. Somebody else had recommended her, and I'm really glad that I get to catch up with somebody from back in the day. Not that I knew her well. You'll just have to stick around and find out a little bit more. I've got my PQ and so much more. You're watching Down Home with Tina.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a recovering addict. For 10 of the last 11 years, I've been struggling with addiction, homelessness, incarceration, and just loneliness. However, since getting clean this past year, I've accomplished more than I have in those 10 years combined. After attending outpatient counseling services, inpatient counseling services, living in a sober living house, and attending 12-step meetings, I've been able to regain control of my life and begin to achieve goals I've always dreamed of. Addiction can destroy lives in many ways. Whether you need help with childcare or financial assistance, everyone deserves a new beginning. Recovery supports are just that, supports for recovery. My life mattered. Your life matters too.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County Adam H. Board.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I have been trying to get them on for, I do believe, well, maybe not quite a year, but we may as well just say about a year, because of course, as everything else, it was just delayed a little bit, but I'm so excited to invite and have, for the first time, Jason Crabill. He is the executive director at the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio, located right on Main Street, on the hill. Well, sort of on the down.
It's right. It's sort of at the top of the hill. It's sort of at the top of the hill.
Half full, half empty. You know, kind of, down the hill, up the hill, whatever you want to say, right? Yeah. What is the address over there for folks? I mean, most probably know, but
we're at 145 East Main Street, at the top, at the top of the hill on your way down.
I'm just teasing. We gotta have some fun,
right.
You know.
That's right.
Life is just too daggone short, anyways. Jason, my goodness, and a lot of us have really learned about that. So you started. You were just telling me. Well, what, last July?
I started, last summer, just as the Decorative Arts Center reopened after the initial closure. So I came on board just as we opened a new exhibit, and the week before the last year's festival would have started. So it's been an interesting year. We've been busy, even though we were closed for most of the winter. But we are reopened, and we have a new exhibit and we're so excited to be back in the community and welcoming people through in our doors.
It's great because so many folks they're itching to get out and have been for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you though in the first several months? About a year for you as executive director with the different things? Because I mean, were you able to still keep busy?
Oh sure. Oh yes. So we were actually open from July through the week before Thanksgiving. So we had a full run of an exhibit, and we're actually getting ready to open a second exhibit when we closed the second time. Our message was our doors were closed, but we were still open. So we did a lot of work trying to do virtual programming.
Perfect.
We anticipated we might have to close during that show that ended up not opening. So as part of that, we recorded a curator tour, and we recorded the curator talk, and we did a bunch of things that, when it turned out people couldn't physically come in and see the exhibit, we were able to put that material online and at least make that available. We also every year do an amazing holiday Christmas display in the house, which is just beautiful, and that also got set up and was ready to go. Just in case we were able to open, we never were, but we also recorded George Johnson, the curator, doing his curator talk, and because it was recorded, we were able to just kind of let that go. So we ended up with about an hour and a half, if you really wanted to know. There was a lot of information there. So we made that available. We tried to be as present, through social media and our website and blog and things as possible, providing resources for people.
Now, do you guys have membership and all of that?
We do. We do have membership, and our members were great this past year. Our numbers are a little bit lower than they normally are, but when you consider, people, we didn't have events, in-person events, those sorts of things. People were really, really generous with their support of the organization, so we really appreciate that.
I think that membership was probably kind of low across the board everywhere.
I think generally,
so it's not like something to take personally as an organization.
Yeah, no, we don't take it personally, and in fact, I was pleasantly surprised at how much retention we got, and we actually got some new members over the course. People who engaged with us virtually for the first time, who otherwise wouldn't have ever known to come down to Lancaster to see us. So.
True, because that's what a lot of folks were trying to do, was trying to find other ways to stay connected with others as well.
Yeah.
So that is awesome to hear that. So you have a new exhibit that just opened up within the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
I'm excited to hear all about this. Not that I'm this, but you don't know what we're talking about.
It's called Distinctly Paramount. It is Distinctly Paramount Fashion and Costume. So it's the fourth in a series of exhibits we've done with Paramount Pictures Archives. The curator is Randall Thropp, who is...
Love these.
Yep. Lancaster native, and kind of uses the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio as his testing ground for exhibits. So
we'll take it.
Yeah. So this exhibit, so previous exhibits have been focused on Edith Head and other aspects of the collection. This one is called Fashion and Costume. So it's really more about the clothing and the sort of balance that Hollywood has between the clothes that they build for movies and the things that they buy off the shelf, and how fashion influences what goes in the movies, and how the movies can influence fashion in the real world. And so it's a lot of designers that people have probably heard of. It spans there are, I believe, 75 pieces of clothing in the exhibit, not including the shoes and the sketches and all of that sort of thing. So the galleries are full. The pieces range over 100 years of movies.
Okay, I was going to say anything recent or current that could help folks like myself, maybe?
Yeah, current movies, recent movies. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Zoolander 2, which, is a movie about fashion. So it's got a lot of pieces that were both worn by the main characters, but then also by background performers, because costuming is really about setting the tone for a movie as much as a location.
Absolutely,
right?
It makes that character,
absolutely.
Builds the character of who they want people to see. To come.
If you're making a movie about the 1980s, right, the clothes are immediately recognizable. The colors are immediately recognizable, right? You know, we've got clothing from the TV show Dynasty, which is iconic, right, for fashion.
Linda Evans.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Who else is there? Yeah, that's just who came to mind automatically.
Right. I mean, right.
Yeah.
And then fashion designers, Valentino, Edith Head, just all of these, right? All of these names that I think people recognize in fashion that is just iconic.
These are actual costumes that are on display.
These are
correct?
the actual costumes that are on display, and Randall.
I love it.
Randall has said that it's taken him about a year to pull this one together, and part of it is he sees these things every day in his archive, and so a lot of this stuff are things that have never been on display in public before, but they are representative of this broad scope of Hollywood fashion and costume. And a lot of them are, like I said, named. We know what movie they're from. We know which actor used it, and others are from what they call the Paramount Collection, which is stuff in the archive where they're not entirely sure who wore it or what it was worn in, but they know who the designer was. It represents some element of fashion that he wanted to highlight, and so it's a nice balance of things you'll recognize and new things to discover.
And it spans, you said, 100 years?
About 100 years. I think the oldest piece is from the 1920s, so about 100 years of fashion.
How does it work? How do folks come in? They can just walk through?
So we're free to the public, always free to the public to walk in to the museum, and we welcome everybody. We are at this point requesting people wear masks, not requiring it. We're asking people to stay distant outside of their groups, and just kind of common sense stuff that we might as well continue practice safety. But overall, we're open Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday through Friday we're open 11 to 4, and Saturday and Sunday we're open 1 to 4.
Do you recommend, if there's a group tour coming through, to give you a call to maybe schedule or reserve? We
do. So if we actually have a program, so you can come in with a group and take your chances that the docent will be available for you, or if you want to reserve a docent for a group, there's a slight per person fee we add on to that. We schedule a time with you. We make sure that we have one of our docents available for a personalized tour, and we kind of that's an added opportunity for tours.
Okay, and we did discuss just briefly, because things are different this year for you all as far as your participation during the Lancaster Festival.
Yep.
But you will be open for the art walk.
We'll be open for the art walk. We'll be part of that program. We're very excited about that. The children's programming is actually going to be held in our Wendell Center for Arts Education this year, kind of all in that one space. So we're excited to be a partner in all of that, and so we're just really excited that the festival is back this year, and that people will be downtown and people will be engaged in the arts, and that we'll be able to be a part of that.
Yeah. So. Oh, I just love it, and thank you so much, and welcome. I know it's like way overdue.
It's so nice to meet you finally.
Finally in person. That's right. Yeah. Jason Crabill. He is the executive director of the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio, located on the hill somewhere. No, I'm kidding. Right in Lancaster. You don't want to miss it. I've seen the other exhibits they've had in the past that had to do with Fairmount and Randall Thorpe.
Throp.
Sorry, thank you. Randall Thorpe, and they are just amazing and so cool and awesome. And maybe I'll walk away a little bit of more fashion, and maybe you will, or bring something back. We never know. Folks, I'll be right back. Down Home with Tina.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all this stuff. And we looked around, and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here. They're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina, another one of my guests who I have known of her since, I don't want to say way back, that's not right to say, a while ago back in high school. She is a few years older than me, and when I was sent a message by somebody who, he must have seen my post on my Down Home with Tina Facebook page, because he had sent me a message and said, I have a teacher for you to highlight, and her name is Gina Schultz, and she is a teacher at Mount Pleasant, and I have been volunteering with her. I just looked up the message to make sure I quoted him correctly on what he had written. He said 11 years for 2 days a week, and she is the best ever. So I want to welcome
Thank you so much,
Gina Schultz. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Gina, you were always one of those, I say older kids that was just like, I was in 8th grade, so you know, you were in high school, you were a senior at that time, and seniors I think are just cool anyways.
Right.
But I always thought, she is so beautiful.
Oh my
and
goodness,
you just
thank
were
you so
always
much.
so photogenic and just so
thank you.
nice and pleasant to be around. And I know your brother, and then I know your sister who is younger than I, but and great family. And I mentioned just before
thank
we
you.
got on that your Aunt Ruth Ellinger,
Yes.
yeah, she is an author, and we were just,
Yes.
I said, oh, I know Ruth, and I love Ruth, so
Yes.
fingers crossed, and I've been praying that she will be a guest as well on this show sometime soon.
That would be great. She would be wonderful.
She's an amazing person, yeah.
She is.
She travels and writes books, and every time we talk on the phone, I'm like, we just need the camera booth right in front of us.
Yeah.
Because then that's all we need now, so now I just gotta,
Right.
yeah. But I know she's here sometimes, and she's out of state sometimes too, so
Yeah.
I get it. But we've got you, and I am so excited to have you. June has arrived, and you're my teacher of the month. I was
thank
so
you.
thrilled to have John reach out to me, and especially for somebody that I've known, and you've always had that, I'll
Yeah.
say, aura about you. How many years have you been teaching?
Well, this year completes my 25th year, and I'm proud to say that all 25 have been with Lancaster City Schools.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Why
It's hard
do
to
you
believe,
think
time flies.
somebody just recently said that to me? And it
Yes.
was somebody in her 30s, and she goes,
Oh.
oh my goodness, time's flying. And then we're like, oh sister. And somebody
Yeah.
said that to me way back in my 20s. They said, your 30s will go fast, your 40s faster, and your 50s, before you know it, you'll be 60 or 70.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, wow.
That's true.
Why do you think that it has been so joyful for you to be working at Lancaster City Schools for all these years?
You
What
know
is it
how
about
the saying goes, I guess, time flies when you're having fun. And all 25 years, I think, have been a lot of fun for me. We've seen a great deal of changes, but they have been wonderful changes. And it's just a pleasure to work for Lancaster City Schools.
What grades? Has it always been one grade?
The first 2 years I taught first grade, and then the remainder of my time I've been third grade. And I just love third graders. I love them all, but
Yeah,
third graders
yeah.
are pretty special.
What is it
Yeah.
about third graders, do you think, that really, I want to say touches your heart?
Yeah. Well, they have such a good ability to work independently, yet they are still very needy. And I think the combination of those two things makes it so worthwhile and just a lot of fun.
Throughout the years, what do you see in the change, I guess, of the third graders? Because it has been quite a lot that has happened, especially
Yes.
with like the games and videos and things like
Yes.
that, and the phones.
Yeah, you've just said it right there, is that the biggest changes I've seen just with kids in general, especially third graders, is with technology. I love learning from them.
Right.
You know, when I have a question sometimes about, how you do this or how you do that, they'll show me. And I like learning along the way as they are. So I think that's been the biggest change, and I think many teachers would agree.
Do you think that they are more grown up than what they've ever been because of?
In some ways, yes. But in some ways, they are still that traditional
right.
kind of third grade kid. But
Yeah.
yes.
So did you have somebody when you were younger that maybe had encouraged you or that you looked up to that made you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
Oh my goodness. I was very fortunate to come from a very small community, Sugar Grove, and I went to Byrne Union School. And I would have to say I had so many wonderful teachers that I don't know if I could really pinpoint just one because they were all so great. I do remember my third grade teacher especially that I think did inspire me, and her name was Mrs. Young. And she had all of my brothers and sisters in school, and she was just such a giver. She was such an enthusiast. She was just so inspirational, yet she was firm, and she meant business. And
She did.
That, I think, all those things that I mentioned was just a great combination for a teacher. She was fun, yet we knew.
You knew what the boundaries were, and you did not cross
yes,
those boundaries.
Absolutely.
So I had Mrs. Keck.
Oh, I did too.
I had her in kindergarten.
I did too.
You did?
Yes.
Well, she had moved to third grade,
Yeah.
and Mrs. Young was still the teacher there.
Okay. I didn't realize that she moved, but
That may have been the first year that I
Okay.
did because I had, Woolever done and then Keck
okay.
again. And
Yep,
so,
I know
yes.
all those
Yeah,
people.
right.
And they
That's
were
great.
great primary teachers, weren't they?
They really were.
Yes.
Yes.
You felt like as a student that you could, if you needed something, they were right there, and it could have been anything.
They really were.
Yes.
They were very kind and yes, there were those that did have that you knew the boundaries for some reason. And not saying that I always watched and didn't cross boundaries, but I seem to have teachers that maybe they just didn't. Mrs. Young scared me. I'm going to say it, but no, it was just because those were the kids that I would see on recess to be like, that crossed the boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, they're the ones that made, you know,
Yes.
and when you're a kid, you look, but anyways, no, but lovely teachers, they all were. So,
and also up through high school.
yes,
There were so many good mentors that I've had, and so it's really hard to pick just one.
it really is. Yeah.
Yes.
Mrs. Davis, I love Mrs. Davis, which
Yes.
taught me how to type. So
I know, thank goodness for Mrs. Davis, because the typing is pretty important today, isn't it?
I went into the Army, and that's what I
Yes.
did, was
Oh,
as an
okay.
administrative
Right.
specialist. So yeah, so anyways, so what is it do you think that you bring to the classroom that really connects you with your kids, Gina? It's
Well,
probably just your vibrant personality. I really think that, and the smile, that they feel that, don't they?
I hope so.
They got
You know, Lancaster City Schools is the place to be for learning, caring, and succeeding. So I hope that I fit in very well with the caring part and helping students succeed and learn to be the best self that they can be.
25 years. So
So,
have you had students come back to see you?
Yes, I do.
What do they
And
say?
Sometimes they're very hard to recognize.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Third grade, it's hard from
Yes.
7th grade to senior, let alone third
Yes.
grade to high
But
adult.
you know, oftentimes I see them working out in the community, and they'll strike up a conversation with me, and I just kind of glance at the name tag that they're wearing, and I say, "Oh yes, of course." But I do remember a lot of them, and it's special when they do say, "Hey, I know you."
Aw,
So
that is
yeah.
great. So is there anything that you can really share with parents that can really help you being a teacher and having their child in the classroom that can really help them through that age? Because third grade is, I think they still have that innocence and that neediness,
Yes.
like you said, and yet they're
Yes.
they're getting to where before too long they're going to be in middle school. Because
Yes.
middle school begins, they go up to, is it 5th grade? Or not quite, I'm trying to think middle school in Lancaster now. Or it goes up to
Lancaster's
5th grade.
elementaries are K through 5.
So third is in the middle,
Yes.
and they're like that middle child. That's what it
Right.
was. They're not quite up here, and they're not
Yes.
quite here, so they're finding their place, aren't they?
Yes, yes. I would just say, just be there for your child. Just be as involved as you can with them. Check on them with their homework often. Just be somebody that's always there.
What can they
no
do
matter
to help,
what?
What can they do to help teachers?
I always appreciate a lot of emails asking, "What can I do? Do you need anything?
Nice.
How is my child doing?" Whatever that you need, I would be happy to provide it. That's always wonderful.
I remember I had a lady I used to work with. She told me that when she had a conversation with one of the teachers, And this is out of all due respect to our children. Just sometimes they'll perceive something and it may come out completely different than what it actually really was. And it's not because they're liars or anything like that.
Right.
It's just because as you grow older, you realize that adult people can tend to do that as well.
Yes.
And it's just make sure you communicate. And if something is said, reach out to the teacher without anger, making sure that does that make sense? It's really hard sometimes.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes.
It was the funniest thing when she told me that, because she told me the story and I was just like, oh, that is so funny. And I was just having kids begin school, so that's why she was just like, you just got to remember on both sides that there is the story.
Right. Right, that's very true.
Perceived really funny and really not so funny at times. So Gina, alrighty, so you are my teacher of the month, so I've got some goodies for you.
Thank you.
I said, and I know that school is about out, but it's still June, and you guys are all finished up, but it doesn't mean that are you really finished in the classroom yet?
I
you guys could
finished cleaning yesterday and putting things away, but I'll go back the 1st of August and start, getting set up and ready to go. I'm usually one of those teachers, I'm kind of ready to go back. My kids are grown now, so, I'm just kind of on the side to them. And but I'm ready to go back when school comes around. So
good. I'm excited for you. Will you go until you retire, or will you keep on going until?
I think I will. I think I'll go until retirement. Yeah, I'm enjoying every year.
Oh, well, good, and I'm sure you'll remain at Lancaster City Schools.
I hope to.
I've no doubt. Alrighty, so I've got a gift card from Ava Jewelers.
Oh, wow.
Just a couple of little things for you,
so much.
for you to enjoy yourself.
Goodness.
And thank you so much
Tina.
for taking your time. You are very welcome, and it is an honor to have you on the show. And
thank you.
It's extremely special. No offense to anybody else I've ever had, but also being from the same high school. That's just
we are very blessed to be
cool.
from Bern Union, I think.
I think so as well. So blessings to you.
Yes.
And have a great summer. And folks, don't go anywhere. I'll be back. You're watching the Down Home with Tina show.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Down Home with Tina is brought to you by those amazing sponsors that you just saw. Hopefully you can stop in and purchase something or hang out or get to know some of our local businesses or get to use one of their services. You can view Down Home with Tina a few different ways on my Facebook page, Down Home with Tina. You can also check out my website, which is downhomewithtina.com. You can watch Down Home with Tina, CLN, Your Hometown Connection on YouTube, and Spectrum 1021. Folks, I just have to thank you so much. I can't stop smiling because I've had a great day today. The weather has been wonderful being out here at Miller Pool. I hope you get a chance and opportunity to get to visit one of our Lancaster Parks and Recreation parks. There are so many of them, so many different things happening and going on, as I had said earlier. But I do want to end the show with a PQ this week. The best way to start the day is with a heart full of gratitude and a big cup of coffee with your best furry friend beside you, because today I decide I'm going to have a southern accent all of a sudden. Happy day to you all. I hope that you again can get out and about and get to visit some of your friends and family that maybe you haven't seen for quite some time. Down Home with Tina will be here back with you again next week. I'll be on location at one of the Lancaster Parks and Recreation parks, not quite sure which one, so you'll just have to stick around and tune in to find out where that be. Again, check out my Facebook page, Down Home with Tina. God bless. Good day.